Toyota dealer.
John Marlar and Kathy Marshall, weeknights on Channel 2 News.
On World News Tonight this Sunday, adding up atrocities. NATO says it has identified 43 mass grave sites in Kosovo. Just yards from safety, a landmine laid by the Serbs kills members of a refugee family. Fire tears through one of the nation's most prized environmental treasures. And the movie doesn't come out for a month. So what are these people doing?
From ABC, this is World News Tonight, Sunday.
Good evening. I'm Carol Simpson. From the start of the air war, Kosovo itself has been a sort of black hole. Finding out what is happening inside is a matter of piecing together the accounts of fleeing refugees, smuggled videotape, and satellite photos. Tonight, those pieces add up to a disturbing whole. ABC's Martha Raddatz reports on the latest accounts of chain gangs and mass graves.
After weeks of chilling reports of atrocities, ethnic cleansing, and executions, NATO today took the horror even further, saying it now has surveillance imagery of 43 separate mass grave sites in Kosovo like this one. Neat columns of death, says NATO, dug by fellow ethnic Albanians.
There have been numerous refugee reports of the Serb police assembling Kosovar Albanians into grave-digging chain gangs.
A U.S. official tells ABC News that tens of thousands of young males may have been executed in Kosovo, but Yugoslav authorities insist there has been no killing. The accusations are NATO propaganda.
These reports have the only objective to divert the attention of America and the international public from the failure of this aggression.
The air war has shown no signs of stopping Yugoslav forces, but there has been a dramatic improvement in just the last few days.
We have more than doubled the number of strikes against the Serbian army and special police forces on the ground. Now, those are the key targets where you have to be successful to protect the refugees.
Multiple launch rocket systems are now in Albania. Apache helicopters are expected to be in place by tomorrow. But a senior military official tells ABC News NATO cannot accomplish its goals without ground forces. Already, he says, Army units are being looked at in terms of readiness and equipment for an operation that he estimates could now take as many as 300,000 troops and 6 to 8 weeks to get in place. But the administration continues to insist that at this point, it's not an option.
Let me say that, as I've said, the air campaign is going on. The president has said he has no intention for ground forces.
Albright and others in the administration do add that plans drawn up last fall for ground troops could be taken off the shelf at any time if that becomes necessary. Carol?
Thank you. Martha Raddatz reporting from the Pentagon. Last night was one of the most intense nights of bombing yet in the air war. Yugoslavia says it has suffered a total of $100 billion in damage. ABC's Morton Dean is in Belgrade.
The NATO strike force is pounding targets with predictable regularity. Oil refineries. Last night, this one blasted for the 4th time in the northern city of Novi Sad. By daylight today, the extent of damage was obvious. Damage NATO says that punishes and paralyzes the military. But Serbia counters civilians are being punished. This Serbian general says NATO is managing to destroy only a small number of military targets. A Belgrade suburb, Pančevo, was also rocked by explosions last night. Despite the heavy thunderstorms and rain, the fires have been burning all through the night and during the day. The flames illuminated the thick, roiling columns of acrid smoke that could be seen for miles and which produced a choking stench. In Belgrade, in the midst of all the chaos this weekend, a McDonald's reopened.
It is not political. The food is good, and my children is very happy to be here.
Belgrade is a city grasping for normalcy.
Somehow, that feeling that we are the victims, and the victims of the aggression 10,000 meters or 30,000 feet from above is making people very anxious.
Anxiety that is all the more intense when night falls and the NATO attacks resume. Morton Dean, ABC News, Pančevo.
A landmine laid by the Serbs claimed members of a family of refugees heading for the border today. They were just yards from the safety of the Albanian border when they hit the mine, which tore the roof off their car. 3 ethnic Albanian children and their grandmother were killed. Their mother died on the way to the hospital. Her husband and 1 son, the only survivors. My children flew out of the car in different directions for 15 yards, he says. Last week, Yugoslav soldiers were spotted laying mines in the area, apparently to defend against a possible ground invasion by NATO. The family was part of a convoy of more than 1,000 people heading for the border. NATO estimates 40,000 ethnic Albanians have fled Kosovo this weekend alone or are still waiting at the borders. Some face horrendous conditions even after they cross to safety. But as ABC's Jane Clayson reports from Macedonia tonight, a few are luckier.
Just a few hundred feet from the Kosovo border is a picturesque mountain hamlet called Melina. It's a tiny town of 600 that grew to 3,600 overnight. It happened early yesterday morning. 3,000 refugees, many of whom had been walking almost 24 hours, arrived here in the middle of a cold, rainy night. They had no idea the generosity that awaited them. These mostly poor potato farmers have offered everything they have to their guests. We can hardly afford to provide for our own families, this man says, but they knocked on our doors and we must help them. This family of 13 welcomed another 71 people into their 3-room house. They were almost dying from walking so long, this father says. So the women started baking at 3 o'clock in the morning. We will share our very last piece of bread with them. That's what almost every villager here has done. There are 85 refugees in this house, more than 100 in there. The town closed its school and desks became beds. This afternoon, a relief truck finally arrived with food, water, and blankets for 3,000. A villager offered his home as a place to store it all. The people of Melina carry the sick to find a doctor and transport those with family nearby. I could never forget what they have done for us, this woman cries. We thank them with all our hearts.
These new arrivals come from 2 towns just across the Kosovo border here, and from what they say, 2,000 to 3,000 more of their neighbors will be arriving here tonight.
Villagers in Melina say they'll be ready for them. Jane Clayson, ABC News at the Macedonian border with Kosovo.
Still ahead on World News Tonight this Sunday, a brief respite from the misery for a few of Kosovo's refugees, a novel way to get young couch potatoes into shape, and saying goodbye to a hockey hero.
This is World News Tonight, Sunday. Brought to you by Oldsmobile.
It's here. The award-winning 215 horsepower power plant. The more powerful, intrigue. Intrigue by Oldsmobile. Start to command performance. Start something.
What will it take to build this company? To get ready for prime time on the web.
How can we do everything a little faster? Okay, a lot faster.
When they're looking for answers, more CIOs, more webmasters, more people look to Compaq than to any other computer company in the world.
Limits? What limits?
Compaq. Better answers.
When arthritis pain hurts, you want relief fast. But some pills can cause stomach irritation. Rubs can have odor. Aspercream's different. Rubbing an Aspercream relieves minor arthritis pain. No stomach irritation, no odor. Aspercream. Pain relief without aspirin.
If you can do this, you can make wood beautiful with Minwax. And if you can do this, you can give wood lasting protection. Turning a house into a beautiful home is as easy as turning to Minwax.
New signs of strain today between Yugoslavia and Albania. Belgrade broke off diplomatic relations with Tirana, claiming Albania is siding with NATO. The tension highlights the region's deteriorating economic and political stability, fueled by the influx of refugees. Here's ABC's Hillary Brown.
NATO said today that it has plans for a stabilization program for the Balkans,
which would ensure the economic development of the area, closer security cooperation among the states in the area.
NATO now estimates that 1 million ethnic Albanians have poured into Macedonia, Albania, and Montenegro. They can't cope with the numbers, and that, they say, is what Milosevic wants.
He's trying to create some condition of destabilization in our region. And for that, he has changed the rhythm of this deportation.
Macedonia currently has 130,000 refugees. It has a large Serb population with little sympathy for the Kosovars and a growing Albanian minority of its own. The Prime Minister says the influx will bankrupt the country.
The refugees amount to 7% of our population right now. It's as though the United States were suddenly to receive 20 million Mexicans.
Montenegro, still part of the Yugoslav Federation, the pro-Western president is trying to avert a military coup orchestrated by Milosevic. But many predict that the war will end up being very good for at least one Balkan nation, Albania. Albania will not only get international sympathy, it will get aid and a new infrastructure to facilitate NATO's military and humanitarian operations there. Hillary Brown, ABC News, London.
For the hundreds of thousands of refugees in Albania, people ripped from familiarity into uncertainty, the days are now filled with confusion and sorrow. But this weekend, they found a way to relieve their misery, at least for a few short hours. ABC's Dean Reynolds is in Tirana.
A dreary tedium has settled upon the Kosovar refugees here in Albania. The horrible exodus is over for many, and the misery of life without a home is sinking in. They know they will not be going back over those mountains very soon, if ever. At this abandoned army barracks outside Tirana, along the Erzeni River, the refugees' wait for hope has begun. There is food here, soup and bread. The water runs, and there are roofs to keep the spring rains off them. There are newspapers to read, and the radio brings the headlines, but there is no escaping the fact that they will be in this unfamiliar place for a long time. There is no school here, and parents worry about the effects of the forced idleness on their children. So it's no wonder that any break in the humdrum is welcome, like, say, a soccer game.
Every kid we interview says, we want to play football.
Save the Children organized a tournament this weekend, and the response was World Cup enthusiasm.
The best thing you can do is get some more normality, get some routine, and start to rebuild those children's lives.
Just days ago, they were herded away at gunpoint. Adolescent boys watching their fathers and grandfathers surrendering meekly to the Serbs. The stress has been awful.
Game playing isn't much to kids who've had their lives turned upside down, but it does provide a little structure and a little fun in a place where both are in short supply.
Most of the boys and many of the girls say they intend to join the Kosovo Liberation Army as soon as they can, growing up fast in the refugee camp, even as time here is standing still. Dean Reynolds, ABC News, Mulet, Albania.
Still ahead tonight, a fire 10 miles long and raging out of control.
When you've got Schlotzsky's on the brain, there's not much room for anything else.
When some people have allergies, they sneeze a lot. Others get an itchy, runny nose or nasal congestion. Me, I had it all. So I said to my doctor, enough already. He prescribed Flonase nasal spray.
Multi-symptom Flonase. Once a day relieves all nasal allergy symptoms all day and all night long. For any or all of those nasal symptoms.
All it takes is Flonase.
For best results, Flonase must be used daily. Maximum relief may take several days. Side effects are generally mild and may include headache, nosebleed, or sore throat. Call to learn more. Even kids as young as 4 can use Flonase. For nasal allergy relief, ask your doctor about multi-symptom Flonase.
When you get it all it takes is Flonase.
I'll be seeing you in all the old familiar places that this heart of mine embraces all day through.
Have you seen Transitions lenses lately? Indoors, the changing tint is clearer. Outdoors, they're the darkest Transitions lenses ever. For all-day comfort and convenience, Transitions lenses, right in any light.
I'll be seeing you.
Visit our website or call 1-877-4-TRANSITIONS.
Our latest innovation springs from a very old idea, that heat cleans better. And so, Bissell introduces the first and only upright deep cleaner with an onboard heater. A common sense idea to make cleaning even cleaner. The new Power Steamer Pro Heat Plus from Bissell. Life's messy. Clean it up.
In news back here at home, the deceiving fire. That's what firefighters are calling a scorching blaze in the Everglades because of its tricky winds. The scope of the smoky fire is frightening. The latest from ABC's Steve Osinsami.
The fire raging through the Everglades now stretches more than 10 miles long and 4 miles wide, and it is still growing. In the way, Interstate 75, now closed, and a network of power lines that serves millions.
Should these power lines have been affected, a big portion of the power in South Florida would have been lost because of the power lines behind us.
From the air, the only way in, firefighters are starting their own backfire, sort of a line in the sand for the larger fire, a line they hope it doesn't cross. Meanwhile, clouds of smoke are drifting as far south as Miami, an hour's drive away. This morning, the haze darkened the city.
Oh my God.
Record dry conditions have made this an awful year for Florida forest fires. Already, more than 2,700 fires have burned more than 100,000 acres. In St. Lucie County, halfway between Miami and Orlando, 43 homes burned to the ground. Tonight, more than 24 fires are still burning, mostly in Florida's forests and swamps. Florida's game commissioners insist wildlife will not be seriously affected, even if more of the Everglades burns.
There's probably going to be some animals that don't necessarily make it, but that's just part of Mother Nature's plan.
Nature's plan does not call for the weather firefighters need. While some rain will fall over the next 24 hours, the long-term forecast is very dry. Steve Osinsami, ABC News, Atlanta.
A stunning development today in the business world. Compaq's chief executive officer and its financial officer have resigned. The world's #1 personal computer maker stock has taken a beating this year, down 43%. Many parents struggle to pry their kids away from the television. A researcher here in New York may have found the solution. Doctors say American kids are getting heavier.
Exercised lately.
One obesity researcher had an idea. Hook up a TV that works only when a kid is pedaling a stationary bicycle.
We are very excited about the results we got. We showed a dramatic decrease in the amount of television viewing from over 20 hours per week to barely 1 hour per week.
And the kids lost weight. 11-year-old Amber Jordan was not in the study, but she agreed to try out the bike for us. After about 10 minutes, she decided she could skip the rest of the video she was watching.
This is really a situation where we kind of win either way. If the child pedals a great deal and watches a lot of TV, they're improving their fitness, and that's wonderful. And if the child pedals only a very small amount and thereby watches much less TV, they're still probably being less sedentary. They're engaging in other activities that are probably beneficial to them.
I think it's a fantastic idea.
That's the general reaction from parents. Kids seem to have a different opinion.
I think it's weird.
Now, you all keep pedaling, because we'll be back with today's send-off for the great Gretzky.
I never met a dog I didn't like, which is a good thing, considering some of the occupational hazards my friends put me through. This is mine. This is Herman. Ooh, what do we have here? A tick. That's why I choose Frontline for these guys. Frontline's the best, because it's the only one that protects them from fleas and disease-causing ticks, too. Sorry I kept you waiting. No matter who your best friend happens to be.
For fleas and ticks, veterinarians choose the front line of protection.
Okay, one more time.
Little sister, I admit it. I was snooping in your medicine cabinet last night. Any surprises? You switched to X-Lax. Yeah, Correctol works with something artificial. X-Lax works with natural senna. Very effectively, too. You tried it.
Today's gentle X-Lax is the only laxative with the X-Lax Morning Guarantee. 2 out of 3 users agree. It's dependable overnight.
X-Lax, what a find. What a snoop.
Today's X-Lax, good morning, guaranteed.
Which of these 2 computers is perfect for you? The one that was built 2 months ago, or this one, which hasn't been built yet? Gateway wants to ask you some questions first. How fast do you want to go? Movie buff? How many kids? Any future Rembrandts? The perfect computer should be exactly what you want it to be. Starting at $9.99 with an Intel Celeron processor. Call 1-800-GATEWAY.
A proper gentleman eats 1 cookie at a time.
But these aren't cookies. They're Newtons.
Oh, we can't be proper all the time, now can we?
A cookie is just a cookie, but Newtons are fruit and cake. And now Fig Newtons are better than ever, because they're moister than ever.
In sports news, it was a send-off fit for a king, and many consider Wayne Gretzky just that, the king of hockey. Today's tearful and triumphant farewell was the icing on the cake for the icon of the ice. Details from ABC's Ned Potter.
Ladies and gentlemen, he is quite simply the great one, Wayne Gretzky.
They retired Gretzky's jersey number today, but outside Madison Square Garden in New York, it seemed as if every fan was wearing 99.
He's so humble, he's gracious. He's just the greatest. He really is the greatest.
We will never see in our lifetime another hockey player as great as Wayne Gretzky.
People compare him to Babe Ruth or Michael Jordan, but no one in any sport has ever held the sheer number of records he does, 61 in all.
He didn't just set little records. I mean, he blew records out of the water, and records people thought would never be touched. He was making a mockery of.
894 goals, 9 times voted the most valuable player, and not only that, he kept winning the Lady Byng Trophy for good sportsmanship.
Wayne has just been the consummate ambassador, not just for hockey, but for professional sports.
He was certainly that. He became such a hero during his early years in Canada that when they traded him to the struggling Los Angeles Kings, it changed the sport. Hockey was no longer that obscure game from the frozen north. Now it has teams in big-money Sunbelt markets like Miami and Phoenix.
I feel so fortunate to have played with some of the game's greatest players.
But Wayne Gretzky became so great that he became hockey. So the question on the ice today was where the game goes without him. Ned Potter, ABC News, New York.
Up next, people waiting and waiting in line. For what?
The party's in there. So why am I out here? Gas. Again.
Maximum Strength Fazyme has 33% more medicine doctors recommend.
One little pill, and I'm back.
Serious medicine for serious gas. Fazyme.
'99 Mitsubishi Eclipse. Postponed adulthood, starting in under $17,500. Now available with 0.9% APR financing for 48 months.
Natural, real. I want to look the way I feel. I'm a Grecian man. Want it quick, hassle-free. A look that really looks like me. Grecian man. A Grecian man, no time for gray. A new generation, a whole new day. Grecian
You're the perfect pair.
An everlasting love, this will be.
Get together for delicious lobster and shrimp. Side by side for a short time, priced at just $12.99. Escape to Red Lobster.
Tonight, we hired contractors. Wait till you see how they did.
Water's coming in the kitchen.
If you've ever had a home improvement nightmare, this 2020 is for you. 2020 tonight, then.
Oh my God.
Every new minute.
You ever see your mother get shot, Miss Campbell?
Proves again why it's the best drama on TV. An all-new Practice. ABC Tonight right after 2020.
At the box office this weekend, Eddie Murphy's prison comedy, Life, took the #1 spot with $20 million. The Matrix fell to #2 with $18 million. Coming in third was Never Been Kissed. Movie fans are already lining up outside movie theaters in Los Angeles to be the first to see the return of the Star Wars saga. But they're in for a long wait. The Phantom Menace premiere is more than a month away. Here's ABC's Brian Rooney.
They do their physics homework dreaming of things they could never calculate. They peck away at portable computers, wondering about technology they can't imagine.
The Federation has gone too far.
And they read magazines about characters they've never encountered. These Star Wars fans have camped on Hollywood Boulevard since April 7th to buy the first tickets to the next installment. And the movie doesn't open until May 19th.
What we expect to see is a whole new way of doing special effects. Not just getting out the models and doing it like the original Star Wars, but actually entire scenes, skies, vehicles, hills, mountains, valleys, the whole thing made entirely out of computers.
Star Wars is a life obsession.
I've seen each movie about 80 times, probably, maybe.
Being the first to see the next Star Wars movie would be something to tell the grandchildren. They pass the time staying in touch by telephone with friends and family.
You wonder about your son waiting in line to see Star Wars? You wonder about your son about a lot of things.
Like the handprints at the Chinese theater, they've become another curiosity on Hollywood Boulevard. They're also a curiosity on the internet. Dial in and see what they're doing, like being interviewed about being first in line.
Is there any possibility that this movie won't be worth the wait?
This is the movie that Steven Spielberg described as an instant classic. I don't think there's going to be any possibility that it's going to suck.
By now, they've got too much invested in it not to like the movie. Brian Rooney, ABC News, Hollywood.
And that's our report for tonight. Don't forget 2020 later tonight. And on Good Morning America, why people who've never suffered allergies are suffering them now. I'm Carol Simpson. For all of us at ABC News, have a good week and good night.